an Asian scene has always different decks than everyone else, right? The European and North American metagames were always different than the metagame found in the Asia region.
And that's why so much innovation and game-changing decks have come out of Asian countries in the past, because they do play around, they do play a different style. So we're getting into game one, and we've got the Priest Mirror. I thought we had Priest Band on one of the graphics. We might have to get that fixed. But as you can see down the bottom here with Sue, so that name is wrong as well because it's not Sue, it's Tail. But you can see he's got a slightly different deck.
Yes, it actually has more than one of almost every single card, because it is a Silence Priest.
Oh, it's no Kazakus.
No Kazakus, no Raza, no Anduin. I mean, there's an Anduin, but no Death Knight Anduin.
Sure.
Right, so...
I get it now. Hero. Aha.
Yeah, aha, exactly. It's a different type of deck. It just wants to play one big minion, then buff up the health, and play, Divine Spirit and Inner Fire, and swing one time, or two.
Usually just one. It's much more fun when it's one.
Yeah, definitely much more fun than one. Especially then if you play... Doomsayer is really popular right now in the metagame, right? And you can use Potion of Madness.
Oh, it's so crazy.
Potion of Madness, buff it up, and just smash your opponent's face with his own Doomsayer, which is super funny.
And I guess the Stone Teacher, Steeger himself, is really giving us a class on how to play Highlander Priest. Make sure you got Kazakus on 4, make sure you got Raza on 5.
He already has also Valen in his hand.
I mean, we're just looking for Anduin and maybe a little bit of card cycle, and we're ready to roll.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of steam there in the hand. Now, it's a very good question, which potion to choose, right?
Yeah. So I guess the interesting thing is a lot of pros now say for, standard matchups with Highlander Priest, it's strictly wrong all the time forever to pick 10. You just never do it. And it's a common mistake you see people on ladder make a lot. And then it comes down to 1 or 5. And a lot of players do like to pick the 1, especially if you're running Velen, because you can get the 3 damage, you combo with the Velen and your Anduin, and that turns into a really powerful 20 plus damage combo late game. However, he's coming up against Silence Priest, so how would that change the decision making?
Exactly my point that I wanted to make with this potion, because Freeze and Polymorph in the 5 mana potion is actually way more impactful in this matchup than in any other matchup.
And you can see that's exactly what he's taken, so he got Polymorph offered to him and he has it. So he's also picked up Armor, in case you missed that on the potion as well, which I guess can maybe help him get, prevent being OTK'd one turn, but that is always a risky game to be playing against Silence Priest.
Yeah. It's such a weird matchup.
Oh, it is.
Right?
And it's also one that, if you're in Steech's position, no doubt you've played a lot of Highlander Priest, but how much of it have you played against Silence Priest? And probably very little.
I don't think I ever played Highlander Priest against Silence Priest for the past... Well, ever.
Yeah,
so
and let's be serious. If you're doing tournament preparation with all the valid decks that are going around at the moment, you're not going to prep against Silent Priest.
Yeah.
So for Steecher, a lot of this game is going to be played on instinct.
And just thinking ahead, what is the goal for my opponent? How does he win? How can I prevent that from happening? Because the interaction in Hearthstone is just, what can I do the previous turn to stop my opponent from winning next turn, right? That's the only interaction you can do. And that means you need to interact with the highest health minion on the board, you need to polymorph it, you need to freeze it, you need to get ahead on the board before it can be buffed, right?
So if you're in Steech's position, is this the type of minion that you're looking to Shadow Word Pain?
Yeah, I think so. Just even putting some damage on the health neglects the potential buff, right? Because from 9 to 6, an example here, suddenly changes the divine a lot.
So we're going to get some big card draw going on here for Steecher, because I think he's thinking about dropping that other cleric. He attacks into the Talon Priest, killing it off, and then is able to heal, getting a double draw, which is pretty nice.
Well, now it's just one draw. I mean, sorry, I was thinking about the Circle of Healing, but then he's not able to trade, right? So that's not something that he's looking for.
Yeah. Well, you could always play your cleric, heal the Talon Priest, then hit in, and then Circle of Healing. You could do a 4 that way, but you'd probably overdraw given his hand, and I don't think it's a very strong play.
And he wants to keep the coin still.
Yeah.
He goes for it. Interesting. I was thinking maybe just heal first.
Okay, this is curious. And look at Tail. He's confused as well. I'm playing Silence Priest, and you're leaving my 1/9 up and killing the 3/4. So you're letting me cycle towards the combo cards I need while keeping a high health minion on the board that I can use later on to buff up and kill you. Tail's probably pretty happy with that.
I mean, he is super happy, and he was confused. Like his face, his look on his face was kind of like, oh, I guess that works out since. It's not even about the health right now, but the fact that it allows him to cycle more, it's even a bigger factor.
So there is one thing though, there's one thing that this play does signal to Tail. That he might have another way of dealing with it. So what other ways does Highlander Priest have? You've got Silence, you've also got the Shadow Word Horror, and you've got the Kazakus Potion, which you haven't seen yet. So that's the only thing that Tail does have to consider. Like maybe that I can get a hand read off that, and I shouldn't mind it too much.
But at the same time, Steacher actually didn't have an answer.
He's got Horror in his hand.
Yeah, but he had to draw it,
yes,
right? So when he made the decision, it was like, kind of weird.
Yeah, very interesting. But I probably preferred clearing off the Cleric because the Silence Priest getting draw is more important. Like, is more important for you to stop than you yourself getting draw. So.
Definitely. But now it's kind of settled down. It will settle down after the Horror will be played. The biggest, baddest minion will go away. Alongside it, the Elemental goes down as well. So
you can see Tail's reaction. He was not happy with that. He really wanted that to stick another turn.
Still didn't lose that much. He has
Not
Lyra and the Raiden Elemental, the second copy of it, in hand. So for 7 mana, he will be able. Sorry, for 9 mana, he will be able to play Divine Spirit and the Shadow of Pain at some point in the game.
Yep.
Obviously, he's thinking about the Shadow of Pain this turn. Ooh!
The Spirit coming out this early, that is really interesting. But it's because he's already seen both the Horror and the Pain. It means that he really doesn't have a clean way of killing it
there's the
without
Kazakus
Silence
potion.
or the Potion. Yeah.
But the potion was picked. I mean, he doesn't know yet, of course, what kind of potion was picked. But if he expects that Steacher will play around the winning, the goal of Tails' deck.
Do you like that play there? I don't think you do. Like, because you could Inner Fire Shadow Word Death it instead and hold on to the Polymorph for another minion later on that he buffs.
I think both are valid. It has some merit.
I guess holding on to the spells like Inner Fire though is good for your own Lyra.
And it's better also for his Anduin.
That's true, yeah. So maybe you just consider the fact that that potion is going to be harder to play the longer the game goes on.
Especially since your opponent can actually play wider array of minions, right? And then the random polymorph might not hit something that you want.
That's true. That's true.
We know that this deck doesn't really have that many minions overall, but when 2 or 3 minions were gonna get played that have more than 5 HP, how do you kill all of those, right?
Yep. So did you see that Steacher was reaching over for the Doomsayer? He might play that out this turn and probably alongside Raza if he does. And I actually don't mind the play being played down like this. I think it works out quite nicely.
Yeah, I like it. I like it because it gives him time walk, basically. He will gain 1 additional turn because most likely Tail will just not kill the Doomsayer, and because of that he will not expand his board this turn.
And this, like, I think if you're Tail, you probably just let this die now.
Most likely. You don't even have a way of just cycling with the Novshire Cleric.
Yep. So the problem is, like, if you just use Shadow Word Pain on the Doomsayer, Raza obviously gets that trade in next turn. Now you could use the Holy Fire combined with the Shadow Word to clear the board and keep your Ancient Watcher. The problem is you haven't seen your Silence yet, you haven't got your second Divine Spirit to buff it up. It just feels like a really awkward situation that he's in right now.
And the fact that he used the Lyra for just 1 spell and he used 1 part of his combo on that Lyra limits his effective range of the deck by a really huge margin.
So interesting there to see Holy Smite being played out by the Lyra to generate a free spell, given that Valen's in their hands.
To be honest, I like it.
Yeah,
I think the fact that between 2 damage and 4, that's almost no difference, especially when you play against high health minions.
Yeah.
While you can get a potential just removal spell from the random effect of Lyra, or even can get an example, Thought Steal, which is also
Yeah.
amazing in this case because you play against a class of your own, so almost all of the cards will be actually impactful in this matchup.
I guess my thinking is, if you're in Stitch's position, Tails got 2 threats left that you need to be concerned about, and they're the humongous Razor Leafs, the 3 mana 4/8s. So if on one of the turns that one of those comes down, you're able to play Valiant and then put it to 4 health, all of a sudden it can't be buffed up to a position where it's really threatening. So by being able to put the extra 2 damage on it like that, when the turn it comes down, it kind of like helps prevent that minion being scary, and Priest basically can't interact with the humongous Razor Leaf at all anymore.
Unless they're gonna
Potion's
get
gone,
backed, right?
the horror combo's gone with pint-sized potion, so we would have to like be buffed over 4 or reduced under 4.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But at the same time, even when you damage it to just 4, it can be healed to 6.
Yeah.
Then it can be still buffed to like an enormous size, right? So he would have to have another minion the same turn to attack into it. I think it's a very close call. So I can understand his reasoning right now. It's still like, look at this. This game can go either way. It all depends on the card draw from both sides right now.
That's true. It's a very interesting position that we're in now because both players have a lot of cards in hand. But if you look at Stitch's hand a bit more closely, only the Velen is really that playable as a card. The other 4 aren't that great. You probably want to hold on to the Shadow Word Pain that was generated off the Lyra, given that you've got pint-sized potions. That is one way of actually killing a Razor Leaf. And if you look at Tails' hand, he has got a card that could help him draw a couple of cards, actually, in both the Cleric and the Purify. But the Cleric has nothing to heal at the moment. Actually, it's been given one now. And the Purify, you need to hold on to for silence targets, or despite the fact that you do have 1 silence. You can play around with it a little bit, but you do have to be careful about how you use your silence cards. Because it's possible in this priest deck to play one of those, 4/8 minions that you need to hit silence on, and just don't have the silence to do it in the end.
Yeah.
So,
especially when you already played Lyra and you didn't just cycle so many cards, right? Dirty Rat with no effect. This is the second time we see that.
Yeah.
So the Dragonfire Potion now has
Wait.
less impact.
yeah, okay.
Oh, I mean, it's a good play. He wanted to bring out another minion out of his hand and just kill it with the Dragonfire Potion. In this case, of course, it didn't work out. It gave him some informations right now. So if he will be able to count the cards, all right, now he knows.
Just a pass back.
He knows exactly what is happening. His opponent has 6 spells right now. This is actually very impactful.
Oh, here we go. All right, Tails setting up now. The thing is, he does have to be careful about what he's possibly playing into, because he does know there's 6 spells in there. So Dragonfire Potion's a possibility, something he could be playing into. He does have to be a little bit careful here.
All right, well, the pin-size potion with the Shadow Word Pain, as I mentioned, is one of the answers against the humongous Razor Leaf. So that can happen.
Is there something smarter than that we can think of?
Well, he can use the Potion of Madness the same turn. So attack first.
I'm just trying to think, like, if he steals the... So he's going to steal the Cleric and then get the heal off it? This is still a play, because he's going to give the Cleric back. I'm so confused by this play. So at this moment, Stitch is almost saying, like, I'm fine with the Cleric not dying, and for us to both get a draw off this Cleric. It's quite interesting, really.
Yeah, it is. I mean, we have seen this. This is a consistent play with what he was doing before, right? So he has this idea of, for him, this idea of this matchup is just not about the Clerics. He just wants to be faster than his opponent.
Tail is, I love watching Tail. He's quite an expressive player. And you could see, like, he was like, are you serious? He got pint-sized and had the second Shadow Word Pain off the Lyra, like, are you kidding me?
Aukenai is actually impactful here as well. You don't want to leave that alive.
Yeah.
Especially with this 0 mana hero power, it can be squeezed with, alongside 10
Your little
mana.
pseudo Adwin.
Yeah, it's kind of like way weaker, but it is impactful.
Yeah.
Although we have seen the Circle of Healing.
Yeah, that's already been played. And that is the, I guess Aukenai is one of the more interesting cards that people include in Highlander Priest, because not everyone does it, and it's effectively like, do you want to include it with Circle of Healing and play like that one-off combo, which comes off like very 100% of the time, but when it does, it can be super impactful.
So Kabul Song Stealer and the attack both being played, so overextension, like heavily overextended into the board. So Dragonfire Potion would have been...
Yep. Or Endwin would have been great here as well. But, yeah. I mean, from the last couple of turns of no action, he knows that he doesn't have Anduin. Because you would like, you're not looking to get value on Anduin off this, because it's very unlikely that Tail will ever be in a position where he would leave a like a Razor Leaf get buffed by Inner Fire and leave it on the board for Anduin to so you just play that one. This is a pretty nice clear. Board goes back down to nothing. And we're kind of in like a little bit of a top deck scenario for both these players, where they haven't really hit their cycle as much as maybe they would like to, despite trading the, clerics early on in the game. So both of them are going to be looking for high value minions. So Tail in particular is definitely wanting that Razor Leaf so he can purify it, rather than having to purify the Rat.
Well, he's cycled differently, right? Shadow Vision.
Yeah, he's got double silence.
He used one Inner Fire, he used one Divine Spirit, so this is the second one. The Power Shield, although important in this matchup in general, it's a little bit too late for it, I think.
It's kind of interesting, because I think you're right, like the Power Shield is quite late, but he does need to hit the other Razor Leaf before Steacher finds something like Edward.
Well, he has the potential of the Dirtuat, right? So this is 6 HP 12, potentially 24. And if he gets... Alright, well, here's the Humongous, okay.
So that threatens 16 next turn with the Divine Spirit Inner Fire combo. Tail is going to use a Silencer to prevent the card wall, which I really like. I think that's quite a key play.
That is actually a very good play. He knows that his opponent's hand is just useless. Has nothing to do with whatever is on the board. Dragonfire Potion.
So a couple of turns too late. He really wanted that on the earlier board that Tail kind of extended heavily into.
So now he has to count, is it potentially lethal from Tail? And even if it's not, is it worth it to just damage those minions to prevent the maximum output of damage? And I like the decision to just play the AoE.
Alright, this is pretty good. Tail's got a chance here, he's still got a chance. So his win condition now is to hit the second Divine Spirit, and he will be able to do that with Shadow Visions. This is going to guarantee it. So all he has to do is wait, hope that Razor Leaf survives one more turn, and he's going to be able to set up the OTK.
I don't think there's any other way of killing that Humongous Razor Leaf from Steacher. I'm just looking at the deck list.
So at least if he gets Anduin, he can put it down to, he can deal 4 damage to it next turn. Actually, he can deal 6 damage to it, so we can put it to a 4-1.
That is true, and I don't see any other way of dealing with it. Well, that's unfortunate, I would say.
Yeah.
For Steacher.
All right. I mean, he must be very close to very few cards left in his deck, because if we look at Tail's list, I think that's his last minion, and he's only got 1 spell left. So he must be on 1 card remaining.
Well,
yeah, he's on 1 card left. Acolyte of Pain is no good, so Tail's going to take this first game.
It gets buffs to 9, that's 18, 36. That's more than 28. So it took a while, but Tail finally found his combo.
Oh, he must be on last card left. Yeah, there you go, 1 card there.
That's the 3rd Divine Spirit. Well, that's a quite neat hand, right?
Yeah. Keep going, buff all the way. Let's go.
That's a lot of damage. 32 with 1 minion. That's the way the deck wins, right? It's pretty sweet to actually witness such a huge attack. Although I think Blizzard should add a little bit of different animation when the damage is more than 30 in one swing. You know?
I must say, even as a bystander, it feels so cathartic to see this 64 damage to face. It's so weirdly satisfying.